Hi guys, so some years ago, political commentator James O'Brien raised the issue of how the pro-tory press has the ability to convince the public who their enemies are. He was shocked by the likes of the Daily Mail and the Express and how they got ordinary people to turn on firefighters who were demanding better pay and conditions at the time. The right wing will then, once the enemy has been created, move on to the next. We saw how during the pandemic, teachers were attacked in the media for showing concern for both themselves and their students. Well, now, those who've been pouring poison into the ears of the public when it comes to issues like Brexit or the pandemic are turning their ire towards GPs. The people who lied to you for years on a whole range of topics, people who have not apologized for being wrong on pretty much everything under the sun, want you to be angry with your family doctor. Here is Arlene Foster, who was kicked out of her leadership position at the DUP, now working for GB News, trying to convince the public that GPs are the problem.
It wasn't just around the fact of face-to-face that I noticed that they were complaining about. It was also the fact that they didn't want to have pay transparency for those who were earning over £150,000. And I thought that was amazing because these people are public servants. And if you're a public servant, then you have to take the transparency that goes with being a public servant, as Deanna and yourself will know, Nigel. That's what we do. And I think it's amazing that that is quoted to be, as Deanna said at the beginning, one of the worst aspects of the 9-point plan put forward by Sajid Javid.
Now, I'm not familiar with what she's talking about here. She's saying that there's some issue of transparency. Look, I don't believe these people. I'm sorry. I've been trying to find something on this and I can't find anything on it. So we just have to believe Brexiteers when they say that doctors are complaining about transparency in their salaries. People earning over £150,000 a year as a doctor. I'm sorry, I don't believe these people, these Brexiteers. They have a long history of lying to the public. Nigel Farage, Arlene Foster, I don't know who this idiot on the left is, but I'm pretty sure she's another one of these people who have poured poison in the ears of the public for years.
I don't think it's a bad aspect at all. People should be open to pay transparency. So I think there is a real problem now developing post-COVID in relation to a number of professions. They have found that they can do things differently during COVID and they want to continue to do that.
And what's the problem with doing that? During the pandemic, people found ways of working, continuing to do their job, but in a different way. And you have a problem with that. Why? Why is it a problem for you? Now, I don't know Arlene Foster, I don't know Nigel Farage, I don't know who this other person is. I don't know if they're receiving money from industry. But when it comes to the Conservative Party, many of the biggest donors own property. And these companies, or these donors, are losing money at the moment because many properties are empty. Because many people are working from home. Because if more and more workers work from home, then you don't need to rent as much office space. And these people who own all this property are losing money. So the natural reaction is, no, we need to convince people to get back into the office. Yes, but what about the pandemic? We don't care about the pandemic. We want people back in their offices, buying sandwiches, going to restaurants, whatever, in the city centre, because we need to make money. That's what it's about. Now, I don't know why these people care about it, unless they have investments in this area.
And I think they have to realise that it is a public right to have access to their GP because the GPs are publicly paid.
So what you're talking about here is, because of the backlog during the pandemic, many people couldn't access their GP. Or they had limited access to the GP. And there's still a backlog. So the solution, the NHS, and this is really weird because the government actually advised GPs to provide both face-to-face services and virtual services, so via the internet. So at least patients had some access to their GP. But because there's a huge backlog, the GPs are saying, look, we need to continue in this way. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to see all our patients. And the right wing here are saying, no, we should force GPs to see patients. Yes, but if there aren't there aren't enough hours in the day to see all these patients, then what's the problem with having an alternative? But these people want you to be angry, not with the government, not with the health secretary, but be angry with the NHS and be angry with the GPs. Why? That's the big question here. Why do they want you to be angry with the GPs? Why do they want you to be angry with the NHS? Because they want you to be convinced that it's broken. And the only way to fix it is, well, what do you think? Privatization.
I was just reflecting on Paul's point about respect for those people in professions. I mean, when I was growing up, everybody respected their police officers, their solicitors, dare I say it as well, their GPs, and now that public respect has all but disappeared. And I think that's something that we should regret.
Who's sowing this disrespect for the GPs? Who's sowing this? Who is responsible for this? Is it the GPs themselves, or is it the politicians? Is it the likes of the right-wing media who are painting them as lazy, as living off the state, as greedy? Who's responsible here?
Because we should look up to those people who provide those services. But I have to say the GPs are not helping themselves.
The GPs are not helping themselves. So the victim blaming here. GPs have received abuse from the public during this pandemic, and also before that. But really, during the pandemic, it has reached a level unprecedented levels. And your reaction to this is, well, the GPs are sort of are to blame here because they're not permitting face-to-face interactions with their patients, because there aren't enough hours in the day to do that. You know, just imagine for a moment, a doctor needs to see a patient. The patient comes in, they spend, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour with the doctor. And then at the end of all of that, the doctor says, look, there's nothing really wrong with you. Here is a prescription. Go get some headache tablets or something. There's 20 minutes, half an hour gone that if the patient had done it online could have been resolved in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Time is lost. So it makes sense to have it online if possible. Remember, and most people understand this, when you do a meeting online with someone, it's much faster than doing a meeting in person. So as there's a huge backlog, and part of this backlog, of course, is because of Brexit, because of the ending of freedom of movement. Many doctors don't have access to the same staff as they had before. The NHS doesn't have access to the same staffing levels as it had before. So there's more stress both on the NHS and more stress on GPs. And they're doing the best they can. And one of the ways of getting around this problem is having virtual surgeries or virtual meetings with their patients. But the right wing wants you to be angry, not with the government, not with the health secretary, but angry with the people who are providing the service, the GPs. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?